Call this meeting to order. Could I have 294 stand up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have 294 tonight. Thank you very much for being in attendance. Thank you for leading us in the pledge. Call the roll, please.
Cedar.
Here.
Finsbatter.
Here.
Kleeman.
Here.
Koopa.
Here.
Laporte. Hall.
Here.
Foltz.
Here.
All present, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, number 4 is the consent agenda. A is the City Council minutes of May 17, 2020, regular and closed meetings. Recommendation approved. B is the Golf Commission minutes of April 13, 2001, meeting. Recommendation received. And C, Cemetery Board of Trustees minutes of April 27, 2020, meeting. Recommendation received.
Motion to approve A through C is presented.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll go number 5. We have a public hearing tonight. I'm going to call this public hearing is opened in the fiscal year budget 21-22.
Yes, Your Honor. Mayor and members of the council, good evening. This evening is before you is the adoption of our fiscal year 2022 budget. Before we allow the public to come up and make comments, I'll go through my usual slideshow, gives a highlights of what's in the budget. I had a few copies printed out. People want to pick up the handouts in the audience. I also have it up on the screen, and it's included in your packet. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and get started. Total revenues this year across all funds are $11,448,983. Total expenditures, $11,852,114. General fund, most important fund, it has a surplus in it. Revenues of $4,095,031. General fund expenditures, $4,017,568. We've also got our tax rates out on the slide. We'll talk about tax rates in a second. The total city millage this year is 16.3922 mils. One thing to note about the revenues, this does not include any of the American Rescue Plan funds the city is about to receive. We're about to receive half in the next coming weeks, and then the other half next year. Because council, we haven't decided how we wanted to deploy those funds. I didn't include them in the budget, so there will be about $250,000 this year, $250,000 next year coming our way that we can choose to appropriate as we see fit when we receive those funds. So that's a quick observation to make. Again, that's not included in the revenues this year. Tax information this year, first for in a few years, all city millage rates decreased due to the Headley Amendment and the effects it has on Michigan, our ability to levy tax rates. All our taxes will be generating more revenue than they did last year, but the growth in that revenue was such that it triggered a reduction in the maximum allowable millage rate. So again, like always, we are levying the maximum allowable millage rate under the Headley Amendment. If the City Council desired to put it to a vote of the people, we could increase our operating millage from 12.9 mils to 15 mils. This would increase general fund property tax revenue by about $453,000. Again, the only way to do that is with a vote of the people. Roughly 43 cents of every property tax dollar paid by homestead property owners goes to the city. The rest of that dollar pays for school and county millages. Total tax revenue is $3,595,880. That's still below the 2007 high of $4,023,000, but it's above our 2014 low of $3,041,000. Again, that essentially shows that while we've definitely made ground since the shrinkage of property values in the Great Recession, we still have, a decent way to go before we're back up to that $4 million mark. General fund, just talk about some of the major non-operational and non-reoccurring purchases. We've got the purchase of a police vehicle, $45,000. We have a planned redesign of the city website. We have our regular allowance for cemetery capital improvements. We also have budgeted for a new city hall server and IT upgrades. One other thing to note about the general fund expenditures is the Clinton Avenue bike path is currently not included in the budget. Plan was always to fund that using existing recreation reserves in the general fund, and until we get bids, I didn't think it would be appropriate trying to eyeball a cost that we have nothing about yet. I want to talk about legacy costs, pensions, starting next fiscal year, October 1. Monthly MERS contribution is $79,213. That's per month. Over 90% of this is to pay for the unfunded liability in the pension system. The remaining portion is funding for current employees. The city is going to see significant increases in annual pension contributions going forward, largely because of the unfunded liability and the mandated year that liability has to be paid off, which is set by MERS. This is still the most significant financial challenge affecting St. Clair, with the potential for costs on track to outpace revenue growth. I've got a chart here that shows a few different scenarios that every year MERS does an annual actuary evaluation, but measures the current state of the pension system and figures out what our funding is going to be for the next year and in the future. Those come out every June. So this is as of last year, so I haven't gotten this year's yet, but once we do, it's going to show this current chart. It's important to note that it doesn't include any of the AFSCME union contract changes, which definitely will have a positive impact on our future pension costs. I don't have a graph to show that impact yet today, but I anticipate in the next few weeks to do so. But again, you can see here that even with a 7.35% investment return, our annual contributions now are about $1 million a year. By 2040, they're going to be north of 1.6 million. Like I say, this is the biggest challenge we have, something I look forward to addressing with you in the weeks and months to come.
Warren, can you go back to that slide?
Absolutely.
Can we ask you questions?
Sure.
Yeah. So just because this is way too small for me to see here, can you explain it using that chart with what the red line dot is?
Yeah. So blue line's the one I just was referring to. That's the 7.35% annual. That's the the return our investments are going to get. So that would be our annual contribution. If we assuming we met that assumption. The other ones, the orange line that's just above the blue line, that's the impact of a demographic assumption change that MERS is doing and is implementing. Again, it's modest, but the other one, the other dashed line, that's that goes north of 2 million. That's what happens if the investments only get 5.35% per year versus 7.35. So again, depending on the actual realized performance, that will change. And again, that doesn't take into account all the cost-saving things we just did with the AFSCME contract, which will, move that line. I don't know how much in the right direction, but it'll be a move in the right direction all the same.
And then what are the numeric values across the bottom? Are those in years?
Those are the years.
Okay.
Yep. So basically all the liability is paid for. It'll be final. It'll be all paid off in 2040. Gotcha. So the good thing is at 2040 the costs plummet.
Yeah.
But again, can we get there?
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions on that graph before I continue? Okay, we'll continue. Again, premium pension costs, I always think it's important to talk about what we've done to address those already. So in the last year, we saw the negotiation of collective bargaining agreements, which did close the pension to all future union hires. We are planning on closing the pension to non-union employees in the very near future. This was part of our compensation and personnel manual update, which I'll be bringing to you in the coming weeks. And again, once all these changes are done, these changes that we do, the evaluation is only done once a year. It's measured as of 12/31. So again, in the next 2 weeks or 3, I'll be getting a new chart from MERS, new data to talk about. It'll show the impact of that, the AFSCME contract. So again, the story's mostly going to be the same, but we'll have an even better idea of where we're headed in the future. And again, we'll come to council with some policy solutions to, address those rising costs. Last legacy cost challenge is retiree health care. This one's not nearly as impactful for us. Retiree health care, we only cover retirees until they hit age 65 and they are eligible for Medicare. And we don't pre-fund, we haven't historically pre-funded this. We normally just pay the retirees' premiums on a monthly basis. Last year, the city opened up a trust with MERS, deposited $550,000 in there. This current budget includes a $25,000 pre-funding contribution. Retiree healthcare costs are going to shrink in the coming years because we have a significant amount of employees who are almost, in their early 60s that are going to be hitting 65, so these annual costs are definitely going to shrink. But again, as the current employees in their 30s and 40s age, we'll have to be able to address those in the future, and that is what this trust is for. And just for reference, as of 3/31/2021, the plan balance was $594,000. So we already have seen some return on that initial $550,000. And again, we did just take action on this as well. The ASME contract, we just eliminated this benefit to new hires going forward as well. It had already been done in the police contract 2 contracts ago, but now no more union employees are eligible. New union employees are eligible for retiree health care. Moving on, major streets, we have 2 major projects. One is Fredmore Highway, Kearney to Henry. Potentially, I say potentially because Kearney the 15th has already been programmed in what is called the Transportation Improvement Plan, or TIP. The federal government sends money for road projects, for federal aid roads, to the county. There's a group at the county, I can't think of the acronym off the top of my head, but every so often we're able to pull funds from that. This is a project that we still have. This was done under Mike Booth. He was able to secure this project. So we do have funds to cover a majority of Fredmore Highway from Kearney to Henry, and it's just 1 block. But one of the things that we've been looking at, and we're going to bring the council in the future, is we're costing out what would it take to do another block of Fredmore Highway and go from 15th to Henry Street. So we'll have that for your consideration in the future. Another big thing I'm happy to announce tonight is we did receive the Transportation Economic Development Fund grant for Kearney Drive. Thank you, Magna, for your help in securing that grant. So we will be doing that project. It's construction fiscal year 2022. And all of Kearney Drive from Range Road to Fredmore Highway will be resurfaced, intersection improvements, and that's about the scope that I know right now. We'll be bringing that engineering design contract to you at the next meeting so we can start designing that project so we can get it out to bid, and the state has to review it because they are giving us a significant grant north of $850,000 for that. But again, that is our major truck route in town, so it's good to be able to completely rebuild our major truck route throughout our city limits. We do also have in the Major Street Fund a planned transfer of $100,000 into the local street fund to continue to support those investments in the local street network. As far as local streets go, my approach this year is, I know council didn't adopt formally the Transportation Asset Management Plan that was presented by AEW a few months ago, but I took the projects from there that were identified. So I have the reconstruction of 1 block of 10th Street from Cedar to Clinton. There's some water main work and services that need to be done with that. In addition to that, I also have resurfacing of the following streets: Ash, Devon, Benedict, East Meldrum, and Stratford. So again, this budget does include funding for all of those road projects in addition to Fredmore Highway and Kearney.
Where's our major street funding? Is that Act 51 stuff, or is that local?
Act 51 funds go to both the major and local street.
And we can pull some of that from major?
We can. Yes. All right. Moving on. Wastewater Fund. We have a budgeted plant improvements, capital outlay, no identified projects just yet. We're working with Jeff Chambers on that. We do plan to purchase sewer camera equipment to avoid contracting out most sewer televising. Our goal with the camera and our new vac truck is to televise and clean 10 to 20% of our sanitary collection system every year. Good preventative maintenance to do. We also have funding in there for a planned engineering study of the facility, the treatment plant itself, lift stations, to kind of talk and think ahead about what our future capital projects we can do, as well as look at potentially if our plant capacity is limited, what are our regional options, such as diverting some of the excess sewage to another plant processing facility. So that's in the wastewater fund. Water fund, major initiatives here are, by law, We are required by Eagle every 5 years to do a reliability study on our water distribution system. Again, not our water plant, but basically from the water tower to your tap. By law, we have to do that every 5 years. It was last done in 2016. Along with that, we'd like to create a engineered hydrant flushing plan to ensure the whole system is exercised, including all the valves and hydrants and all the water mains. When we go out and flush hydrants, we'll make sure that we're doing it in a way that we don't leave any, spots unflushed, for lack of a better description. And the budget doesn't include any numbers regarding the water treatment plant improvements that we've been talking about, that we've been seeking the state loan for. At this point, the financing is still up in the air. I'll report on that more in my superintendent report. But without knowing when those costs were going to start and what they would be, I did not include that in the budget. And again, pretty much they will all be financed by debt. So again, we'd just be taking out a loan to do those improvements as well. Almost done. Two more slides. Golf and Harbor. In the general fund this year, there's a $25,000 transfer planned from general fund to golf course to help support golf course operations and build a cash balance. As far as the harbor goes, the harbor's cash position has steadily improved with a ending balance of September 30th, 2020 of $792,000. The harbor does have some outstanding debt still. That's going to be paid off in fiscal year 2026. Outstanding principal on that is, total debt is $270,000. We have been talking about a long-term plan to rehabilitate or improve the north wall or Rotary Park. So don't really have any more information on that to share, but it's something the harbor staff and I are working on, and we look to have more to talk about in the future on that as well. Last but not least, the equipment pool fund. We have the planned purchase of a Bobcat utility vehicle to replace a 2010 John Deere tractor. Again, with the equipment pool, a lot of our equipment is near the end of the lifespan. Doesn't mean it's at the end or can't be in use beyond the expected lifespan, but we are cognizant of the fact that a lot of our equipment, 2 plow trucks, the end loader, the backhoe, they're all about 20 years old, and we want to make sure we have a plan in place to replace them when needed and to repair them when needed. So again, those are kind of the contemporary issues for the equipment pool fund. And with that concludes the presentation this evening. Public hearing's still open, so I'll be happy if anybody from the public wants to come and speak on the budget. We will adopt it later, so if council wants to save their questions to the actual agenda item, they certainly can, or you could probably do so now if you so desired.
Anything from the public? All right, we're going to close the public hearing then and move to letter B, I'm sorry. We'll go to the Industrial Facilities Exemption Certificate Application, Magna. Mr. Casey.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm Dan Casey with the EDA. It's nice to be back in front of you again. So this is an exciting project we have on the agenda, but we've talked about this quite a lot, so I'm going to be very brief tonight. First thing I want to do is remind you that at the beginning of this project, as is typical with any project that goes through state of Michigan incentive process, the community is required to provide a local match. And so this city put together a local match which included an industrial facilities exemption certificate, or we call it commonly a tax abatement for the project. So that was one of the key incentives that was offered. There were job training funds and some other things as well. So tonight really brings the company forward to make that formal request to you. Obviously, you can all look on Yankee and see that the building is well underway. I want to remind you that that is phase one of a potential 3-phase project. The abatement that you're going to be considering tonight only applies to this first phase that's under construction today. With that, I'm going to invite Misty Rice, who's Magna's Government Affairs Director, right there, to come forward, and she'll make the formal request.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. Councilors, Mr. Mayor, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Misty Rice. I'm the Executive Director for Magna International. I'm here on behalf of Magna Electric Vehicle Structures of Michigan, where we have long had a industry leader in vehicle structures and providing comprehensive range of body and chassis and engineering solutions for our customers. MEVS is a new facility. Everybody's talked about it. You see it going up, which will build complex battery enclosures for the all-new 2022 GMC Hummer EV, which hopefully will begin its initial production in the fall of 2021. And this new business with GM marks an important evolution as the company expands its capabilities in the electric vehicle space. As you guys all know, this will result in $70 million investment, which will bring more than 300 jobs to the city of St. Clair over the next 5 years. We're very excited about this project. We're very excited about working with the city. And working with Dan and his team and Warren. We have a long history of supporting the communities in which we work and live. For example, during the pandemic, we donated KN95 masks to first responders, nursing homes. The communities in which we live and work are very, very important to us. We're partnering, again, as I said, with the city to recruit locally, to hire as many people as we can. And we find, as somebody who's worked for Magna for the last 5 years, it's just a great place to work. Our operating philosophy is based on fairness and concern for our employees. Our employees are our greatest assets. Without our employees, Magna would not thrive, and we wouldn't continue to grow exponentially as we have been doing. And so I just wanted to thank you all if you have any questions, but again, we're very excited to be here. We're excited to see the building go up and continue to grow and work with the city and as partners as we move forward. All right. I'm happy to take any questions you guys might have.
Well, we're just happy to have you here, Misty. Thank you so much for everything, and I know you've been working with us and very cooperative and very helpful. Any questions, comments for Misty? All right, thank you. All right. Anything from the public? We're still in the second part of the public hearing, I guess. All right. And we will close the second part of the public hearing. We'll move to ordinance and resolutions. 6A, Resolution 2120, 2122 fiscal year budget, millage levy, and appropriation acts. Mr. Wolfe.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this resolution is the mechanism by which the annual budget is adopted. And also the millage rate is established, and the schedule of fees is incorporated by reference as well. We do this every year. By law, we have to do this before June 15th. Reminder, the budget is a living document, and as we've started the precedents now these last few months, we come to council quarterly when we look at our changes that are needed to be made and desired, provide you with a up-to-date status on where we are financially. We'll not change that practice at all. I think it's gone well and it's been well received. So again, this is the budget adoption, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
So we're also adopting the schedule of fees that's included?
That's correct.
Can you, I know we already did this, but can you, for the sake of the audience, walk me through what is being increased, what is going up?
Would you like me to go through all of them? I can. There's just a few. I have a sheet here that has the changes. $10 increase to the voter registration list fee, $10 increase to the special event permit fee. We have vendor permit fees are increasing for one-day permit 40 to 50, weekend 75 to 100, month 100 to 150, and the season we are just clarifying that is a more than 3-month charge. That one didn't change. We increased the gun purchase permit and registration fee from $10 to $15. We added a new charge for fingerprinting services, which the police department started and has been very well received. So that's new to the fee schedule this year. Water sewer rate charges, bulk water use increased from $3.90 to $4.25 per 1,000 gallons. Again, that's for bulk water consumption purchasing. Final reading fees increased from $20 to $25. Multiple unit reading fees increased $10 from $10 to $12.50. Replacement meter, instead of charging a flat fee per meter, we're just going to charge the actual meter costs because those change from time to time. Commodity charge for water increased from $2.38 per 1,000 gallons to $2.65 per 1,000 gallons. Cemetery deed transfer fee increased from $10 to $20. Foundations from $10 to $12 per cubic foot, and the minimum charge went up from $100 to $120. And then, last but not least, banquet hall rentals at Pine Shores. Resident rental went from $250 to $275. Non-resident went from $300 to $325. That is all the changes in the schedule fees.
Give me that number. I know, I think you said for the per 1,000, 238 to 268, is that how much?
265.
265. So, what's that, about 17 cents?
27 cents.
27 cents.
There was no increase in water rates last year.
In the budget, in Department 154, I'm assuming that's the bridge, right?
What fund?
154, M29 movable.
Yes, that's the bridge.
So when we list all this workman's comp and everything, and the wages are 69, then the total goes to 94. This is just a pass-through. This is all reimbursed by the state.
Yeah, you'll see the revenue item, a few lines up, there'll be a number that matches the 90.
State grants, movable.
Yep, state
bridge.
grants, 94,260, yep. So again, everything we spend on the bridge is 100% reimbursed to us.
So if they get a raise, we just pass it through from the state.
That's correct.
All right, yeah. Anybody else got questions?
Hearing no other questions, Your Honor, make a motion to approve. Support.
All right, the motion made, supported. Any questions from the audience tonight? All right, call the roll, please.
Kinsfater?
Yes.
Kleeman?
Yes.
Krupa?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Volz?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes.
Adopted, Your Honor.
Thank you. Let's go to B, Resolution 2121, Industrial Facilities Exemption Certificate Application, Magna.
Yes, Your Honor, this resolution is by basically authorize the city administration to take all the next steps and formally adopt the Industrial Facilities Exemption Certificate and send it on to the State Tax Commission. This abatement is, again, 50% abatement for a 12-year term is what has been requested in the application.
Motion to approve.
Support.
All right, made and supported. Questions? All right, call the roll, please.
Kleeman?
No.
Krupa?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Volz?
Yes.
Kinsfater?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes.
Resolution adopted, Your Honor.
All right. Good luck, Misty. We'll go to C, orders adoption 21-3, zoning special uses micro storage.
Yes, I can take this one, give it a go. Again, last meeting, we introduced this ordinance. It amends the zoning ordinance and allows, as a special land use in the C1 zoning district, neighborhood micro storage, provided certain conditions are met. Again, the only other thing to add, again, is a special land use. It must be approved by a majority of the planning commission. It comes to city council for final approval, and there also is a public hearing notification process where all the neighbors receive notice that, hey, this is going to be right next door to you, and they have the opportunity to be heard. This is different than a permitted land use, which is just as if it's permitted, you can just go ahead and do it. No planning commission, approval needed ahead of time.
Motion to approve.
Any questions? I have one. So even special use, people within 300 feet will still get a notice and can attend the public hearing?
That's exactly right.
All right. Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Krupa?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Volz?
Yes.
Kinsfater?
Yes.
Kleeman?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
Thank you. D, ordinance adoption 21-4, zoning adaptive reuse, special approval, uses allowed.
Yes, Your Honor, this ordinance is another amendment to the zoning ordinance, and it is a simplification of the adaptive reuse provision. And whereas before, 37 different specific uses of land were allowed, that if a building was going to be adaptively reused, say like an old school building that's no longer functioning as a school, it could be used in one of 37 different ways. What the Planning Commission felt that the best approach was to essentially identify the zoning districts in which those uses make sense in a adaptively reused building, and they came up with R3, which is high-density residential, office service, commercial, C1 district, and then as well as the mixed-use districts, MD1, MD2. So basically anything that is allowed in there could be, again, after a special land use approval process, public hearing, public mailing notification, planning commission, city council approval, and just cleaning it up rather than having 37 different things. They're like, what we got in our ordinance is already good, so let's just, incorporate those by reference, essentially.
Motion to approve. Support.
Any questions? All right, call the roll, please.
Laporte,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Volk,
Yes.
Kinsfater.
Yes.
Kleeman,
Yes.
Kufa,
Yes.
Cedar,
Yes.
carried, Your Honor.
Thank you. Let's go to number 7, reports of administration. Mr. Rolfe, you got anything tonight?
Yes, several items this evening, Your Honor. First, I want to announce that on June 14th, the city pool will be opening. We also, again, I've already mentioned before, but I want to reiterate that we did get that award for Kearney Drive, $880,000 and some change, I think, was the grant amount. That's a significant grant to resurface that road. DTE, the LED light conversion, the streetlights have been ordered. They're about 6 to 8 weeks, because there was a significant amount that had to be ordered out from getting into DTE's contractor, and then probably another 1 to 2 weeks to start the scheduling and programming. So we'll probably see that late summer, the light fixtures go in. Also, at our last meeting, we talked about crack sealing. Want to say that we are going to start crack sealing this season in the last 2 weeks of June. I don't have a date just yet, but the last 2 weeks of June is our timeline. I was asked to get an estimate what's the cost for the city to do it in-house. We were able to calculate that. Crack sealer takes 4 guys to do it. 5 sometimes if there's, if we're doing like Kearney Drive and there's traffic, and some of the guys gotta do traffic control. But the hourly rate, and again, this is for all labor and benefits, for 4 people, on average, again, everybody in the DPW, they have different tenures here, so their wages are a little different, and their benefit costs are a little different. So adding that up, plus the hourly equipment rental rate of the crack sealing machine, $141.15 per hour. For reference, the bid for crack filling or joint sealing, actually, Gulf Street was $6,000 and I believe $80. It was $6,000 for sure. So again, that'd be about 43 man hours. At our costs is what the cost for Murray Underground's joint sealing proposal was. So considering that, we still believe that it's most economical to do that work ourselves. So that's my report on crack sealing. Also have a few more things. We just received a personal property tax reimbursements. I call it the special bonus payment, technical term. That comes every May. It's from the state of Michigan, and it's designed to make municipalities whole from when personal property taxes were phased out back in 2014. This May payment fluctuates significantly. It can, and this year it actually fluctuated in a good way, and we got about $334,000 that we weren't expecting. Of that $334,000, $245,000 of that goes to the general fund. It's designed to reimburse our general operating millage, so it goes to the general fund. The remaining balance of the $334,000 is going to the pension fund and the road fund to, reimburse those the pension millage and the road millage. So with that, I want to just make council aware that, that puts us in a really good shape financially to have money like that, unexpected. Would be happy to come down with some ideas on, what are some non-operating things we can do, to keep, improving our town and making the right investments. So would be happy to bring that to council coming, if that seems desirable, have discussion on what to do with that. And I got two more things now. It's all about scheduling. I've noticed that the first council meeting in July is July 5th. It's Monday. Because City Hall staff and all city staff get July 4th off. July 4th falls on a Sunday. It's observed on Monday. So no city staff will be in the office on July 5th. The council meeting is scheduled, so if council wants to still meet the evening of Monday, July 5th, it could. I just wanted to know if, because we have not certain notification requirements to change meeting, council wanted to change that to say, Tuesday the 6th. I just wanted to make you aware. I don't know if you have 4th of July plans or anything, you want to move the meeting. I just wanted to toss that out there to council to consider. Before we talk about that, I do also want to say workshops. We have 2 workshops I'd like to do. I get on the calendar, have a few ideas on this. One is for the capital improvement plan workshop, and I also want to continue the conversation from the MML compensation study, but also use it as an opportunity to show council the draft of the personnel handbook, which contains certain policies I've mentioned we've been reviewing, and we're finishing that project up right now. We're going to send it out to our labor attorney who's going to review it, but again, with a document that substantial, I think it's only appropriate that we devote a workshop to that. So with that being in mind, knowing we had those 2 workshops kind of areas to talk about, I was almost wondering if for the July meetings, if we just wanted to say for each meeting in July, we'll schedule a 6 p.m. workshop, and then we can take, one topic, one meeting, and then one topic at the second meeting. I kind of thought that would I don't think we have enough time to do them both. I want to do both a fair job. I'm definitely going to need more than a half hour for capital improvement planning itself. So with that being said, wondering if we want to do 2 6 p.m. workshops in July and potentially move the one from July 5th to July 6th as well.
I don't have a problem with moving the 5th to the 6th, and I think it'd be great to do it on both those July meetings, to start at 6 o'clock and do the workshops.
Yeah, I agree on the special meetings. It doesn't matter for me on the 5th or 6th.
You're good either way.
I'm good either way.
Need a motion.
Do we need a motion for this?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support it. But what are we doing? Are we putting the 5th or 6th?
6.
6.
Go with the 6th, and then
Tuesday, 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. And whatever date the second meeting
And then
is.
the
19th.
Motion is changing the regular meeting date from July 5th to July 6th at 7 p.m. and scheduling a workshop at 6 o'clock.
For both meetings.
both July
For both
meetings.
meetings in
Yeah.
July.
And maybe, like, we just say the first one will be the capital improvement, the second one will be the...
That's probably for the best. I'm not sure how long it's going to take our labor attorney, we haven't quite gotten him the materials yet, so if we have to go back and forth,
All right, so here's the motion. We're moving the 5th to the 6th. We're scheduling 2 workshops, one on the 6th, one on the 19th. Has that been supported?
I supported it.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Jim Downey's that meet with your approval?
Sounds good, Your Honor.
Okay. So he's squinting over there a little bit, and I'm like, what's he doing over there? You got anything else over?
No, that concludes my report this evening.
All right, anything for Mr.
Yeah, just a
Wilkie?
question on opening the pool. Was there any major problems with opening it or everything?
No,
went good?
we were nervous about the pump, but we were able to repair it, and it's been functioning for over a week now. So, don't want to knock on the proverbial wood, but, hopefully we're able to keep that running, and the pool will be a great,
Staffing is no problem?
staffing. We've been able to recruit lifeguards, pool manager, aquatics manager, thing like that. Yep,
Okay.
we'll be ready to go.
Anything else?
About the joint ceiling, how many hours are we planning on doing that this summer? Do you have like a plan for that?
We have 3 pallets of material. I don't know how far a pallet goes, but we'll go until they're gone.
Yeah, at last meeting, it was brought up that scheduling was the question.
Yeah.
That whether or not it was a cost savings or not, but when is it going to get scheduled to get done? Because if it's not going to get done, then we should go with a different route.
Yeah.
So when will we see a schedule for what hasn't been done, including the new project?
Again, we are going to be getting the kite sealer out the last 2 weeks of June. I don't have an exact date just yet, but material has been received. Bob is programming it in right now. We'll be ready to go in those last 2 weeks of June to begin.
So we'll see work done in the last 2 weeks of June.
That's correct.
Very good.
Lauren, can we get a report after that of what roads were done, where the ceilings, I mean, I imagine it to be extensive, but I'm also interested in just how
Absolutely.
much is done in a season.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it'd be good to, again, do it, show council this is what we're able to accomplish in this time. And if council wishes to see a change.
Well, that'll give us some accurate data and true
Absolutely.
cost, correct?
Absolutely.
All right.
Anything else? All right, we'll go to B. Mr. Downey, what do you got?
I have nothing this evening, Your Honor.
All right. City Departments. Mr. Ennis, are you up?
Hello, Mayor. Evening. Council members. I'm Don Ennis. I work for the City Police Department. I got a few things tonight. First one, so they got Mr. Dale Carney here. He owns a State Farm agency at 3rd and Vine, or 3rd and Clinton. So about a year or so ago, right after the pandemic, about, we would say 2 or 3 months, when people started getting back to work after the pandemic, I was at Mr. Carney's office for an unrelated issue. And we just started a conversation about the pedestrian signs along River Road and how, I think last year, the first year we had them, and how we really liked them. And he wanted to know how he could get involved with some type of donation or sponsorship, because I told him Cardinal Salt bought one and the St. Clair also bought one. So we kind of put our brains together, and he has a pedestrian crossing right in front of his building there, right at 3rd and Clinton. So that's a great pedestrian crossing there from Rotary Park across the bank and Tim Hortons and Burger King. So I got a quote for a couple signs, which they're not cheap. Those signs like hit by cars. I'm sure everyone saw the one on Jay and Riverside. That didn't make it too long. So they kind of get knocked over pretty easy. So they're not cheap signs, but anyway, they're about $700. About 350 or so a sign. So I gave him the quote, and he was able to secure a grant through State Farm of $500, and to cover the rest of it, he contributed $200 of his own money. So I just want to thank you for your support, because obviously pedestrian safety to us is number one. With all the people walking in town, all the vehicles in town, any way we can make pedestrians more visible, we definitely want to support those ideas. So thank you for your support, sir. A couple other things here. So not sure if anyone has seen any of these little stop signs around town. They're more or less in the businesses here. So the main reason why I got these little stop signs is we were getting a tremendous amount of fraud calls at our office. And the specific fraud is more or less people calling up, acting like they're DTE, acting like they're Amazon, and asking citizens in our town if they want to resolve an issue, whatever it may be, on their credit card or shipping or whatever. And a lot of these people don't have any issues at all. They're just getting scam calls. So what these bad guys do are basically having our residents in this entire county and the entire United States go to different businesses and obtain gift cards. And we're getting people buying gift cards anywhere from $500 to $7,000. I had one victim that bought $7,000 worth of Target gift cards, which he thought was an Amazon issue, which it wasn't. So what these stop signs are more or less for is I got with Dollar General, I got with CVS, and I got with Neiman's, and got together and said, hey, would you put these by your gift card section? And obviously this won't stop the fraud going on, but hopefully if someone sees this sign, they can think twice that maybe the person they're buying the gift card for is not the true person. So this is just more of a public service announcement, some way to get this information out to people. And Kathy Neiman, she was great with it too, because she said this also opens up a conversation with the customer. Because really the first line are the cashiers, so the people who do these transactions. They can deny a transaction, but they're too scared to be too invasive into these people buying these $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 gift cards. So this kind of opens up a conversation from that employee to that customer, so hopefully that customer can kind of think about what they're doing. So, which kind of brings me into my third topic here is, obviously, with all the fraud, not including this fraud, but other types of computer fraud on your cell phone, through your email, different types of scams, is I got a class on June 22nd, So if you guys are welcome to come, residents are welcome to come, anyone can come. It's just more or less, it's a lecture for people. It's on June 22nd at 6 p.m. here in City Hall. It's Tuesday, and I'm basically going to share my information of what I learned being a police officer in St. Clair as far as like security and fraud. And I got a lot of case studies. I'm going to show a lot of pictures of my different investigations to kind of see how this fraud happened. Because if anyone in this room thinks that I can't be a victim, think again, because you will be. I've been a victim. We all can be a victim. So this is kind of just a way for people to think. This isn't just for grandma who gets a phone call and says, I'll send grandma to that class to make sure she's aware. This is for people who do online banking, who do Amazon, who pay their bills online. This is for anyone in this room. So I really want people to come to it, and I'm really hoping I can teach someone something, because if I can teach someone something else, hopefully they'll be able to tell them the next person or another family member that they know. So, all right, any questions?
Good job.
So again, that's it's June 22nd at 6 p.m. here in City St. Clair Hall. You can call our office at 810-329-5710, preferably between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m., our receptionist hours, or you can email us at scpd@citystclair.com. We have 30 seats available. And if we need more seats, I'll definitely bring in more seats, but I definitely want to get people in the seats so I can teach what I've known to help out this community the best I can.
It's a great idea, Donnie, and next time I see you in the hall, we need to talk, because I have a great resource for you, but you probably know it, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Mayor and Council, I was able to attend Corporal Ennis's, trial version, if you will, at the Rotary Club a few weeks ago, and I'll say the presentation was quite impressive, and I think that, I encourage everybody here and everybody in the community, to attend if possible.
So we'll make sure Channel 6 tapes that night?
Yeah, I'm talking to Paul about it. I want it to be more of an interactive lecture. I want people to ask questions. We're going to film it one day, but I want people to come, because I feel if you're here, you're invested. You want to make a difference. I feel if you just put on your TV at home, I want you here, I want you asking questions. I want this to relate to you personally, because this is 100% will affect you at one point. Whether it's your passwords on your online banking or email, you will become a victim of some type of phishing or hacking. You just need to prepare for it. Now, what I want to do is give you the defense or the offense to be prepared so this won't happen to you.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Any other city departments? Amy's more than just a department now. Okay, so we were very fortunate. If you remember our last meeting, I kind of put Amy on the spot a little bit, and she is now here tonight to enlighten us all on a whole bunch of stuff that I think is very important to all of us. So Amy, have some fun
Important,
with
but
it.
not very exciting, so bear with me here. It's Fund Balance 101. I'm going to do my best to try and explain the concept of fund balance, how it stands in the financial statements. There was some confusion when our financial statements were presented last spring. The fund balance was presented in a different form than it was presented the year before. So I just kind of want to explain that a little bit to you and help you guys understand a little bit about what consists of fund balance. So, you ready for the excitement? Okay, so in the wonderful world of GASB, there are 5 components of fund balance. I'm going to just briefly discuss them and then only focus on 2 of them. So there's non-spendable fund balance. These are the amounts that are not in a spendable form, such as inventory and prepaids. The City of St. Clair uses it for a small amount just for any of our prepaid expenses that we pay before the year ends. For instance, health insurance, and we also pay about $250,000 to the Fire Authority on an annual basis. That money goes into fund balance, that's it. The next category is restricted fund balance. These are amounts that are required by external parties to be used for specific purposes. Examples include grants and dedicated millages. We currently do not have any restricted fund balance. Next category is committed fund balance. These are amounts that are constrained to specific purposes, and in order to fall into this category, a resolution has to be adopted by council. We currently don't use this category. It's something that we might want to discuss going forward if you wish it to be changed. The 4th amount is assigned fund balance. This is our most heavily used account. The city superintendent on an annual basis will go through and assign fund balance to specific amounts that he intends it to be spent on. On the second page, which I'll talk a little bit more in detail, it shows our current amounts that we have in the assigned fund balance. The last amount is unassigned fund balance, and that's just the catch-all for everything else. So that's just what's open for whatever we wish to spend it on. So that's a brief overview of the 5 categories. If you flip to the second page in the document, I have a table showing the last 5 years of fund balance and the 3 categories that we currently utilize. Non-spendable, I already explained, I'm not even going to touch on. Assigned, I listed all the assignments that were picked by the superintendent. This goes back to the Mike Booth days for fiscal year 16, 17, and 18, and Warren picked this up for fiscal year 19 and 20. If there's any specific questions on those assignments, he can answer those. And then the last group is the unassigned. So as you can see, in 2016, we went from $1.6 million in unassigned fund balance to just over $3 million in fiscal year 2020. So we've almost doubled our unassigned fund balance, which puts us in a very good position. Yes.
Unassigned is, we can use for, that's general fund, we can use it for whatever purpose we approve.
Exactly, exactly. There's no physical constraints on it, no legal constraints. It's just open fund balance. And fund balance, basically what fund balance is, to put it in very simple terms, is excess revenues over expenses. I should have started with that. So any year that you collect in more revenue than you spend, that dollar amount goes in fund balance. Sometimes it's constrained because the expense just hasn't happened yet. Other years it carries over and just continues to grow. Below that, I just have a small table that just kind of shows where we're at. So from 16 to 18, our fund balance grew each year. From 18 to 20, we went down just a little bit, but we've held pretty steady, which is great considering all the challenges we've had in the last couple of years with COVID.
And Amy, real quick, on my printout, and I'm guessing yours, the words aren't by the colors on ours. I just noticed that. So
The
gray is unassigned fund balance, right?
It's not on the bottom, it is on mine.
It's not on ours. I got the 3 dots, but I don't have any words next to the dots. I just noticed that, and I'm like, I don't know.
Okay, that's strange. The blue is non-spendable, very small amount. The orange is assigned, and the gray is unassigned.
Thanks, I just want to put it out there.
No, yeah, thanks, I don't know how that could happen. One other question you had, Mr. Mayor, is last week you wanted to know where, or last meeting, you wanted to know where we currently stand with the fund balance for the current fiscal year. And as of now, with the budget amendments that were adopted at the last meeting, we're on track to grow our general fund balance by another $80,000. So we're still in good shape for this year as well, too. Okay, now the next page, this is where I'm going to do my best to explain the differences we had in the presentation from fiscal year 18 to fiscal year 19. Stop me at any point if you have any questions, and I will do my best to answer. So in front of you, you have a table. At the bottom of the table, there are some percentages. What those percentages are showing is the measures of the general fund's liquidity. A useful way to gauge the liquidity is to compare fund balance to expenditures will result in a percentage that shows how long the city could operate its general fund with 0 revenues coming in. So for example, if you look at the section where it says Jordan's method, look in the fiscal year 2020 column, you see 64.81%. What that means is that we could operate our general fund for approximately 8 months, which is 65% of 12 months, with no revenue coming in. The GFOA, which is a Government Finance Officers Association, recommends 16%. That can be increased slightly for smaller governments, but 16% or about 2 months is what the General Finance Officers Association recommends. So you can see we're well above that, so we're in very good shape there. Now the problem lies with what fund balance categories and what expenditures are included when you're calculating this percentage. And this is what caused some confusion when our audit was presented this past spring, as this year's presenter who was Jordan, presented his calculation differently than last year's presenter, Bill. And that's what I want to kind of explain to you. When Bill presented fiscal year 19's general fund, he gave a percentage of 134%. Then, when Jordan presented fiscal year 2020's financial statements, he presented a dollar amount of 64.81%. That sounds alarming, and I can see why. It sounds like our fund balance basically was chopped in half, and it wasn't. Those numbers were calculated differently. So I want to do my best to explain how Bill presented them, how Jordan presented them, and how I think they should be presented for further understanding. So Bill's method is in line with how the Government Finance Officers Association recommends. However, I do not recommend this method for the City of St. Clair. This method excludes transfers to other funds, which, in my opinion, should be considered along with operating expenditures. The recipients of these funds, mainly the street and pension funds, rely on these transfers for proper functionality. If those numbers were included, and we had 134% of our fund balance to spend on general operating, that would throw our pension down in the tubes, and it would also throw our street spending down the drain as well. So I believe those operating expenditures, the transfers, should also be included. Bill also included the assigned fund balance in his calculation. In my opinion, the assigned fund balance should not be included, as those numbers have already been accounted for. The intent is already there on how to spend it. So if we do not include those numbers in there, we'll get a more accurate representation of the fund balance that is left to spend, however we choose. Does that make sense? Am I losing you?
No, you're doing very well. Thank you.
Okay.
Don't stop.
Thanks. So Jordan's method is presented above at 65%, and that I am in agreement with how that is presented. Those numbers take into account only unassigned fund balance, which is the amount that's kind of left to spend at will. And it also includes the transfers as an operating expense. So it's a much more conservative approach to measuring the liquidity of our general fund. So, but as you can see, whichever way we look at it, we're well above. GFOA's recommended 16%, so we're in great shape.
Why was Bill dividing it by operating expenditures and not transfers from other funds?
That's actually how the GFOA recommends. There's a lot of there's a lot of cities and municipalities out there who do not have the pension fund as we do. We have a separate pension fund, and we actually transfer money from the general fund to the pension fund. There's other ones that do not do it that way, and the expense is just within the fund itself. Okay. So had that expense fall right in there, then it would be a more realistic approach to us. So it's just a matter of how we account for certain expenditures versus other ones. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
So Amy, am I hearing this? On your thoughts, Jordan's method, it more accurately depicts what we actually have cash available to if we had to go out and fix a road tomorrow that was a catastrophe.
Correct.
Because it doesn't include the assigned.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
The assigned fund balance is, I don't want to say arbitrarily selected.
It's money already spent, right?
It's money that we intend to spend.
It's like the budget we just adopted.
Changed.
Like the budget we just adopted, that's assigned.
Correct.
Yes, it can be changed at any moment in time. It's not obligated by law. There's no ordinance selecting us to have to spend it that way, where if we've moved money into restricted funds, that obligates it. But it still would throw the other funds, to me, downhill really fast. So I think the conservative
So at this
approach
point,
is...
using Jordan's method, you think our fund balance is probably more accurate to say it's 65%?
Yes. Yes. So I would like to come to an agreement at some point as to which method to use and establish a fund balance policy that will actually put this into writing so we can keep this consistent year to year, how we measure it, so we actually have the same number. We can report it to our auditors, how to report the number, so this confusion wouldn't happen anytime. You know, you can also select a minimum and a maximum amount of fund balance to keep in that policy. You don't want too much of a fund balance because we don't want to, hoard the taxpayers' money. We want to spend it, on city operations and things like that. So, so having a fund balance policy that does not currently exist for the city, I think would be a wise thing to do.
I 100% agree with that statement, by the way.
I really like looking at the 64% for it, the 8-month, that we have the 8-month worth of money to spend that way. It makes the most sense to me instead of looking at it as 115%. And some of that money we are obligated to spend, or we're not obligated, but we intend to spend it. And some of it we actually are obligated to spend.
Yeah, like the pension transfer,
That's already
we gotta
spent.
do that.
Let's stop counting that for things.
I agree with Councilmember Volz. Yeah.
I would much rather know for sure what we actually have, not the other method, I guess. Just call it.
Right, we do have more than that, it's just, we already know what we want to spend it on. So,
Right.
that shouldn't really be included in our rainy day fund, whatever you want to call it.
Do you need a motion?
I don't think so, this is more just educational,
No, we can-
down the road.
In the coming weeks, we could certainly bring a draft, fund, here's what other cities our size, kind of do for fund balance. What does council think is appropriate? I also think it would be a really good second part to the capital improvement plan workshop, where we kind of start talking about the long-term capital planning. I think we could use fund balance and say, okay, well, we know we have these capital needs. Let's assign this amount, towards future capital, above and beyond what it might already be. Again, just thinking out loud here, but again, thank you very much, Amy, for presenting this information to the council.
Hope it makes it a little bit
Yeah,
clearer
well
than the mud.
That was very well explained.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great job.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, good job, Amy.
Thank you.
Amy was nervous this morning. I told her, just relax. We're just trying to be educated. All right, any other city departments tonight? All right, D is authorities, boards and commissions, committees, council reps. No unfinished business. We'll go to number 9, new business, approved purchase of BSNA payroll software module. Mr. Rolfe.
Yes, Your Honor. Before you this evening is a proposal from BSNA. They are a software provider that provides most of our software for city operations. Everything from tax collecting, billing permits, utility billing, business licensing, all the budgeting we do. It's all BSNA. They make software for governments. They're Michigan-based. And one of the things that they offer is payroll and timesheet software. And since we've been here, payroll's kind of been, it's been like the hot potato. The staffing changes. The responsibility of payroll has moved from person to person. And every person I talk to that does it, we have just like some desired, we wish ADP, our current payroll software, we wish it could do this, or we wish it was easier to do this, and it's not. You gotta call a phone, you gotta call, you call another country, you're put on a waiting list, they call you back. There's different things that governments do, like being able to manage personnel based on if they're union or non-union, things like that. And so we thought, and it's also, fairly expensive at, around $800, $900 a month. It does change from time to time depending on, the employees we have. Like, obviously it's a little bit lower in the summer months when there's some seasonal employees. And so we reached out to BSNA knowing that they had the software and knowing that I had very, very limited experience with the software in my previous position. We wanted to get a proposal together. And we reviewed the software from BSNA, and not only did we find, I wrote this lengthy memo explaining, the ins and outs, what we like about the program, what the benefits were from an operational standpoint, which I'd be happy to get into more if council wishes. But one of the biggest things is the reduction in the annual costs. Again, like I said, ADP, last year, the expenses were $10,320. That was an annual cost. The annual cost for BSNA is $1,755. So it's significantly cheaper. And also the customer service is based in Michigan, which is huge when you're dealing with, programming, new payroll deductions, things like that. And again, there's other operational improvements, efficiencies. It'll save staff time. It'll automate a lot of things. It'll integrate with all the other software we have with BSNA. And again, I can't think enough of, I view my job as come to council with things that'll make us operate better, and if they're cheaper, great. This is one of those things, bringing it for you today. Again, there is a one-time cost to it. A lot of it's to do with the training, with the software licensing. So again, the total investment is $23,045 for the one-time costs. Again, going forward after that, it'd be $1,755.
And how much are we paying now?
$10,320. So again, about 83% the cheaper annual support. Again, be happy to answer more questions.
The $1,755, is that guaranteed for how long?
It's guaranteed for 2 years, and then after that, I'm gonna just read.
Goes up to 15 grand?
No. Hang on, it's in here. Okay, it is going to be increased by no more than the yearly consumer price index for all urban consumers. So if inflation's 2% a year, this might go up 2% a year. 2% a year is still, when you're 83% cheaper, 2% is still going to take an awful lot, long amount of time before you're back to where you were. So again, I really, I don't try to get too excited about things, but I'm really excited about this opportunity here. I think it's really a good fit for our organization, and a lot of our local communities use the same software too, like Marysville, for instance.
So it's about a 3-year payback?
Yeah, about.
In the last paragraph, it says you won't begin training until fiscal year 2022.
Yes.
So we're obligated with ADP until that point?
Yes, we have to
What's the plan?
retain, just with, software scheduling, pandemic, they're a little behind. The earliest we'd be able to get them in here, the trained staff, would be October. So again, if you're looking at this contract, there is a fee for the program that's due upon execution of the agreement, which is $6,605. And then the balance of that comes in two installments, one at the start of the training and two at the end of the training period.
So the final two would be in the 2022 fiscal year?
Yes.
I'll make the motion to change to the BSNA.
Support.
Any questions? Call the roll, please. Do I need a roll call on that? Because it's a contract.
It's up to you, Your Honor.
Well, if we don't need one, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. All right. Purchase of 21 F-150 police responder vehicle. Chief?
It's that time. I need a new car, so I'm requesting a F-150 pickup truck. The main reason, it's about 2,000 more than the Explorers we drive, but the Explorers we drive, you can't put a stolen bike in, you can't put a box over 2 feet in the back, and so if DPW is not working, I don't know if you've seen any of my officers riding down the street with their arm out the driver's window holding the bicycle, bringing it back to the office, but so $34,000 for a brand new pickup truck is a pretty good deal.
I'll make a motion to approve, but I have a question.
Support.
Are we only going to go for one truck, or are you going to change the fleet to pickups?
No, just one. I think right now one.
Change the whole
For now. And I'm ordering it now because of the chip problem, and the dealership says we could probably get it November, December, January, so it's going to come in the next budget year, which we have
was
money.
included in the next budget.
So,
All right, the motion is, what, any questions?
Is there going to be a plow on the front of it, Chief?
yeah. We're going to help Bob Beef out when he needs it.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
What are we doing with the old one?
Oh, the old
It's going
vehicle,
to go to the marina, I believe.
yeah, our intention is to, the previous Tahoe went to the marina. I don't know what year that is, but it's got to be early 2000s.
The Tahoe's 2009, and that
No,
actually...
the Harbor's current Tahoe
that's,
is early 2000s.
yeah.
So that one we'd probably come to council saying, if we can't find a use for it internally, we'll come to council, say, council, what do you want us to do with this? Meanwhile, the Tahoe, the 2009 that we're replacing, that one would be moved to replace the other harbor, from the harbor to wherever council says, from the police department to the harbor. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And this Tahoe, the 2009, it actually came to the city free from a federal border security grant.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had it for 12 years and we didn't buy it. So we're still using it at the marina. So.
All right, we passed that? We have not.
Motion and support.
All right, motion made, support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Stay right there, Chief. Traffic order.
This came to light a couple weeks ago. I got a phone call from Chief Westrick. Hey, Chief, they're resurfacing a lot at 400 South 3rd, and they're parking in the street in front of the fire hall, and we can't get the tower truck out. And if you notice, there's no parking fire lane trucks all over this town except in front of the fire hall. So we need to put some no parking fire lane signs in front of the fire hall. State law doesn't allow parking within 15 feet of a driveway on the fire hall side, doesn't allow 75 feet opposite, but in order to enforce it, there has to be a sign, so.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, special event permit, St. Clair Chamber of Commerce, Rockin' in the Plaza. Chief?
And I have their request, all their paperwork's in. These concerts are going all the way into September. I think on your memo it says 8 p.m. to midnight, but I believe that was changed to 7 p.m. to 11.
It was.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion made and supported, we're changing 8 to midnight to 7 to 11. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Permit application, 4th of July fireworks.
Yes, Your Honor. In your packet is the template of the permit required in order for the city to be in compliance with the Michigan Fireworks Safety Act, Public Act 256 of 2011. It requires the local government unit to approve an application for a fireworks display. This particular permit is from the city of St. Clair that needs to be approved by the city of St. Clair. So I'm just requesting approval to complete the application for our municipality.
So moved. Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. And along with that special event, this is an annual request. We do allow vendors to participate on 4th of July. And because the fireworks display begins at dusk, we would like to extend the vendor hours to allow those vendors to participate past 9 p.m., which is in the current ordinance. So what I'm coming before you today is to extend those vendor hours to after the fireworks, no later than 11 p.m.
So moved.
Support.
Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go to G. Had a couple of appointments tonight. With your permission, I would like to appoint our newest member, Chris Paul, to the Recreation Commission and the Cemetery Board of Trustees. Council Rep, one-year term expiring December 31st,
I'll make that
2021.
motion.
I'll support it.
Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Paul, Direct and Cemetery.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Number 10, claims and accounts, May 20, 27, June 3.
Hearing no questions, Your Honor, I make a motion to approve as presented.
Support.
Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 11, public questions and comments, 3 minutes. Any non-agenda item out there or anything, something you want to talk about? Okay. Go to number 12. I have a couple things. Number 1, Dale Carney, thank you very much for your generosity. Good work over there. Friday night concerts start this coming Friday in the park.
Yes, the St. Clair Recreation Department provides 6 different dates of Friday night concerts from 7 to 9. The schedule and listing of bands can be found on stclairrec.com and on the city website. So those begin this Friday.
This Friday. And I'd also like to mention the passing of Don Fleury, served on the city council, also served the city as a volunteer fireman for over 30 years. He's a good man. Anybody have anything?
I'd just like to thank the Scouts for coming out this evening.
Absolutely. 294, good job tonight. Good luck with everything you got to do up there.
Thank you for having me.
For that, Your Honor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Have a good night, everyone. Be careful, be safe.